It's Friday, 9:18 a.m. I have a doctor's appointment at 9:30. We're like 5 minutes away. CJ's driving me, and Piper's in the back since who gonna keep her? But anyway, we're headed to New York Presbyterian Hospital, which is where my OB works now. Technically, it's the Cornell health system, but when they called me to reschedule my appointment to Friday, they told me that he would now be seeing me in the hospital because obviously all physicians and nurses are now tied up with COVID patients. So that's where I'm going today. And at first, so we had gotten some notifications saying that all of our regular non-urgent appointments would be via video, like televisit or whatever, but my office called me and said that my physician would just start seeing healthy patients on Fridays, which is why I'm going in early today. So anyway, I've been here before, but I didn't come to see him. I came to get an ultrasound, and then my sister told me to film it this time, so that's what I'm doing. Let me think. Some of the things that they made me do the last time when I went in, I had to fill out a form saying that I hadn't been exposed to anybody with coronavirus in the past 2 weeks and that I didn't have any of these symptoms. They also gave me like a photo ID, and they took my picture and then printed a photo ID. And then I had to go through security, which you do typically have to go through security anyway, but I've noticed that they're heightening their security now. Of course, like, we had to keep our distance. There weren't that many people in line, and I guess that's because they're like strategically scheduling people. They gave me a new mask. I had a mask that I wore outside, but they gave me a new mask for inside. And then when I was going to the location, there wasn't a chance for me to walk around and look around. It was there were a lot of people there, like, kind of directed me, I guess, to keep people from lingering around or like being in close contact with each other. So we'll see if everything's the same today. Okay, so I'm here, headed to my appointment. They gave me a mask. They actually added an extra kind of security thing this time. They had to check my bag. They also made me stand in front of this thing and take my temperature. But they did the same thing, took my picture, and gave me a visitor's pass and all that. Okay.
Yes. So Wednesday, May 6th.
Okay, that works.
1 p.m. that day.
Okay.
All right. And you have the portal, right?
Yeah. So I'm all done with my appointment. the actual appointment itself was pretty routine, like it normally is. There weren't that many people there, that's for sure. There was hardly anybody in the waiting room. One thing different that I noticed this time is that for the next appointment, I have to do a video appointment. So I was thinking that like they bypassed that, but by making sure that people are seen on Fridays only if they don't have COVID, but I guess not. So my next appointment is on a Wednesday, since all video visits are now on Wednesdays. I did have an interesting moment where I got off on the wrong elevator. So I saw people, delivery people unloading a bunch of stuff, a bunch of extra equipment and stuff for COVID patients. I don't know if I filmed it long enough for you to notice, but there were some extra beds that they had rolling out, and I don't know what those circular round things were, but they were unpacking quite a bit of stuff. So that was interesting and also a little bleak to see, but otherwise it was kind of normal, or I guess as normal as they could possibly make it. Okay, so it's almost 5 o'clock. I'm just getting back on to follow up on some stuff now that I'm done with work and everything. As you can see, I changed clothes because every time we go out, we try to change. They don't ever lately let visitors in or anything like that. So whenever we go, you know, the three of us, CJ and Piper, just park somewhere and stay in the car and wait for me. I know that like a couple of weeks ago, maybe like 3 weeks ago, they also weren't letting birth partners into the hospital when people gave birth, which obviously caused a massive uproar. But I think that after so many complaints, people are trying to change that a little bit. So when my doctor talked to me today, which I'm due in August, so that'll be a while from now, and I don't think that they think all of this is going to be over by then, but he did talk about it like I would be able to have CJ in there with me. But I know that you can't have anybody else in there, like family and friends, and I'm not sure if midwives are still allowed unless it's just the one, they count as the one visitor. So it's definitely something to think about, something for us to think about, especially because I was also considering like having a different kind of birth experience this time. Last time I had an emergency C-section and stuff like that, and so when everything was still normal and I first talked to this doctor, you know, he said that we could try some different things to see if I didn't have to have a C-section anymore. But now they've also canceled prenatal classes. Obviously, I was looking for some virtual ones and they don't have them right now. I'm sure it's because people are just tied up with all this COVID stuff. So without those classes and everything, I'm not really sure how I can like you know, overcome a C-section or learn a different way besides a C-section. Maybe, you know, some classes and stuff will open up. Let's see what else. And I never had a childbirthing class the last time either, because I ended up having a car accident on the way to the class. So I really did need one this time. But we'll see if some of those open back up. As I said before, everything that I'm doing from now on, well, most everything is like via video. So that's promising. I like to go in and everything, and for them to be able to check everything out. But the good thing is that they're allowing me to do video visits because I'm still a healthy patient, and I'm definitely thankful for that. There was a moment where I got off on the wrong elevator, which you could, in the footage, I think, only see my feet, but there was just so much like it was sad to see. On the one hand, I am glad that they were able to even get shipments of equipment and stuff like that, but there were so many extra beds, like, that they were, I don't know if you call it unpacking, but so many extra beds that they were laying out in the hallway, I guess, to prepare for whatever the peak is going to be. I don't know if we've hit the peak yet. And then they had these, like, circular things on wheels, and I have no idea what those things were, but it was just boxes and crates and boxes and crates and boxes of crates of all of this, like, equipment clearly going to be used for COVID patients. So I didn't really want to film that because, I mean, it's startling to see anyway, but I definitely didn't want to, like, trigger anything, because obviously, like, I'm sure everybody has been hearing about all the deaths and stuff like that. There were also, there's a tent set up outside of the hospital at the entrance that I come into, and I've seen them in other places too, like when I'm riding on my way to the hospital, but I didn't film that either because that's kind of sad. I mean, you can't see inside, but that's where they, wherever those tents are set up, that's where they, like, let sick patients come in first, I think, and get tested and stuff like that. And because they're running out of hospital rooms at all the hospitals, that's also where they try to treat some of the patients. And then I was reading an article the other day that said that, you know, obviously the tents are to cover up when people die and people have to be transported, you know. So every time I go, it's like right there, but I just try not to, like, look at it or think about it or anything like that. It does feel really good to, you know, be able to go in and say, like, I haven't been exposed to anybody, and I'm still healthy and all that kind of stuff, and that my family's still healthy too, because it's so clear that the situation, the procedures are different for people who have that. I also want to mention that they took my temperature twice. So the temperature reading thing was interesting. I thought he was taking a picture of me. When I first walked in, I had to walk to the right, which was different from the last time I went. And then there was a thing, and I thought he was taking a picture of me, but it was just reading my temperature. And then the lady said, you don't have a fever. So many people have, you know, probably thought that they weren't showing any symptoms and stuff like that, and then turns out they did. So they made me take that precaution. Then, you know, that's when I did security and all that stuff. When I got to my actual office, what's up? When I got to my actual office, they also took my temperature again with the actual thermometer under the tongue and everything like that. And then I didn't have a fever, of course. And so she let me into the waiting room. When I left, I had walked out the wrong exit. I needed to check out. I walked out the wrong exit and had to come back in through the entrance. And the lady, like, stopped me again, you know, to say, I need to check your temperature. And I told her I was already here. I just, you know, needed to check out, and I came through the wrong exit. And she was like, oh, okay. They did give me this packet right here with information for moving forward about, like, getting a hospital tour and delivering and taking prenatal classes and stuff like that. But it's kind of null and void. I mean, because I can't do any of that stuff anymore. I went through anyway all the links and looked up, you know, just to see if there was going to be anything virtual, but it wasn't really. So essentially I just flipped through this packet and everything was canceled. So I just kind of, like, you know, didn't do that. It also has, like, helpful information about finding a pediatrician and stuff like that. And I found a pediatrician, but they're not really, like, accepting new patients right now. So I don't know. I guess we're just kind of winging it. Luckily, you know, my doctor in my office is pretty calm, so that makes me feel a lot better. But it's, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. It's really interesting, all of these changes and everything. I hope that encourages you, though, to stay safe and stay informed about everything that's going on without being inundated with information, of course. But just take the necessary precautions and stay home if you're able to. Obviously, people who have to work don't get to do that. People who, you know, still have to go out and travel to get their essential things can't do that. And of course, me and my husband completely understand that. But for people who have the privilege of staying home, for people who have the privilege of helping others, if you have resources that you can share and everything, consider doing that. Consider helping, because it's so much, the procedure for me was so much easier because I have been staying home. Like, I can say for sure that I haven't been exposed to anybody and that I don't have any symptoms and stuff like that. And I can say for sure too that when I go into the office, I know I'm not, you know, potentially infecting anybody else, and that stuff matters. So just do your best to help each other out from a distance and stay encouraged yourself and stay safe. Anyway, enjoy your spring, your weekend, since it's Friday, and good luck to you out there, and God bless.